Hey everyone, welcome back to another lesson of computer science. This is our fourth lesson, and we are studying computer science using the Turtle module in Python. So today I want to talk about flow control by talking about loops. We're going to learn all about loops today. So what I want you to do for me, if you're in Thonny, I want you to please open the star sizer module that we made the other lesson. It might just be in your recent files, so I'll pull that up right there. And if we run this, oh, my script's still running. All right, if we run this code, we can see our star being made. We made this a lot more powerful by adding a variable length, didn't we? Now we can change the size of our star very easily. And you may have also had to change this go-to. So your go-to might be a little bit different. If you in a exercise made that to where it moved more down depending on the length, that's super great. But I am going to just stick with the way it is right now. But I want you to, if you can, resize these things so we can see both, because I really want to see both the code and this. And I want to make a few changes to this code. I like the way it drew in this way, but for what I want to do today, it's going to be better if we take out a couple of these. First thing I want to do is on line 4, I'm going to get rid of hide turtle, and instead I'm going to make the shape a turtle. Okay, remember that's in quotes, so just say shape parentheses and then in quotes we put turtle. I'm going to remove this left 72. Okay, and so all this is kind of our setup here. Okay, and including our begin fill, which I guess actually probably makes more sense to make that begin fill here. All right. So there we have begin fill, and then we have this code here. And we're gonna let's see what that does. I took out that one turn, okay, and it should make a slightly different shape. It's still a star, but it's a little bit different, and we're pointed kind of in a different direction there. And so what I want to do is just make this to where it starts maybe at positive 40 instead of a negative, or if you have something else, so just change it from a negative to a positive. And we're going to go forward, turn left, forward, turn left, forward, turn left, forward, turn left. But you'll notice it ends with my turtle pointing in a different way. So I'm just going to add one more left, okay? And that's also going to be worthwhile for what I want to do. All right, let's see what happens when I run it now. A little more centered, right? A little more centered. And you can see my turtle ends up pointing that way, the way it started. So there's a nice bit of symmetry. There's a nice bit of symmetry to this behavior of this code. So I want to talk a little bit about repetition. Is the way I've got this code set up now. Once we start filling, and then during this filling procedure of making the star, we go forward length, then we turn left. All right, then we go forward the length, and then we turn left. 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 Do you see the repetition there? And there's kind of a rule of programming is that you should never repeat yourself. For one, it makes debugging really difficult because you have to go in and change all that code over and over and over again. Just if you decide 216 is not the right number, maybe it's supposed to be 217. Now I've got to change it in a bunch of different places. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to use a loop. And the first loop I want to talk about today is called a while loop. To make a while loop, we'll need a counter. So let's make a loop counter variable. And I'm just going to put it right here. Loop counter. And a loop is whenever you do some work and you come back where you started. And then you do it again. So, if I'm trying to take in the groceries from my car. It's kind of a loop. I bring a bag from, or as many bags as I can carry from the car to my house, and then I go back to the car, and I keep doing that until the work is done. I'm making a loop, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So we're going to say, we're going to get rid of all of this repetition. So that's going to be gone. And I want you to say while loop counter is less than. Now, how many times did I do that? Actually, you know what? Let's go back. How many times did I do this? I did it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Okay, so I want to do this 5 times. Watch how I do say that. While loop counter is less than 5. So remember, the alligator eats a bigger amount, so this is the less than symbol. And you have to put a colon after it. See the colon? That's the shift and then the button to the left of quotes or to the right of L, and hit enter. And you'll notice that it indented, and that's where I have to put that code. So we could cut and paste, or maybe just hit delete, but I want to practice typing it in. So everything that you want to happen over and over again has to be indented, and after you put a colon, it automatically does that. So that should be good there. We can see that we are going to go forward and then turn left. And this is going to happen 5 times because the loop counter is going to be 0. And we're going to do the code. Then we have to make loop counter go up. I forgot about that. So right now, yeah, we're missing something right now. I wanted to talk about this. As it currently stands, this would just keep doing this code over and over again because loop counter is always 0. And it's going to check if loop counter is less than 5 every time. And 0 is always less than 5. So we need to change the loop counter. And watch how I do that. All right, so I'm going to change loop counter to equal loop counter plus 1. This is the assignment variable. It's not an equal sign. It looks like one, but it's not an equal sign. It's an arrow storing the result into here, and that always happens last. So when the Python gets to this code, it's going to say loop counter. Well, what is loop counter? The first time it sees it, it's a 0, right? It's going to take 0 plus 1 is 1. Then it will store that and write over the value loop counter, so now loop counter becomes a 1. And then it'll look at the while loop, and it'll say loop counter less than 5, do the code, and then it's going to, again, start on this side. Loop counter is now a 1, 1 plus 1 is 2, and store it in the loop counter. All right, let's take a look at how this works using the debugger tool. I mentioned this earlier if you wanted to check it out, but now we're really going to dive into it. So what I want you to do, please, is to press this button, debug current scripts. Debugging tools are great for both learning how code works and fixing it when you have a mistake, because you see every line of code happen one at a time. It's a little confusing. It highlights the line of code that it's about to run. Okay, so it's not saying it's doing that right now. It's actually paused. So it's about to run this code. And we have 2 options, and I like to use the F6 or F7. You can just make it finish with F8. So step over is when it's just going to do everything that's highlighted and move on. Step into is when it's going to dive even deeper. So watch as I do that. So I'm going to do the step over F6 and step into, meaning go deeper, in a minute. So I press F6 and it's going to do this code. Okay, it did it. I don't see anything, right? That's because all we did was open up the turtle module. All right. F6 to step over. I've now made a variable length equal 200. It's stored in the memory. Picking a pin up. Okay, that's some turtle code. So as soon as you run any turtle code at all, it's going to bring this window up, and you'll notice that it's frozen. And that's because it says it's not responding. Well, yeah, you have to kind of click on it and play with it because it wants to fight you. It's not responding because it thinks that the program is stuck, and in fact it is, but we're making it stuck. So that's okay that it says not responding. All right, now we are going to make our shape a turtle. So press F6, and you'll see the turtle become. There it is. Sorry, I was clicked on the. You have to make sure that you're, clicked on this window here. I was still clicked on. Now I'm going to change the color to blue, and it's turned blue. All right, we're going to go to our starting position, and it does that. I'm putting the pin down, and I'm beginning fill. All right, now we're going to create a loop counter of 0, And in this case, because we oftentimes have loops that just accomplish a task, if I press F6 or choose the step over, then what's going to happen is it's just going to do all this at once. Well, I want to step into this, okay? So the first, now we got to remind ourselves what loop counter is. Loop counter is a 0, okay? So ask yourself, is that a true or false statement? Is loop counter less than 5? Because we're going to keep doing this while that's true. Is 0 less than 5? Yes. That means continue this loop. So press F6 or click on the step over. Okay, so we should see this code execute. It goes forward. We're going to turn left 216 degrees. Loop counter equals loop counter plus 1. We can't see those variables. They're in the machine, but I can show you in my hand. Loop counter becomes a 1. All right, is this less than 5? Yes, it is. So I'm going to go forward. I'm going to turn left. And I'm going to increase loop counter. Is 2 less than 5? Yes. I'm going to go forward. I'm going to turn left. I'm going to change this to 3. Is 3 less than 5? Yes. Go forward. Turn left. Change this to 4. Is 4 less than 5? Yes. Go forward. Turn left. And change that to 5. Is that less than 5? No, it's not. But you see it checked it. But it's not less than 5, so it said infill, which just fills it in. So that's a very common way to do something. If I want to do something 5 times, I start my counter at 0, and I do it while it's less than 5. Because I think of loop counter, I think of that as how many times have I completed the task. I've done it no times, and I want to do it while the amount of times is less than 5, because I want to do it 5 times. Once loop counter equals 5, that means I've done it 5 times. Alternatively, I could say started at 1 and make this less than or equal to 5. Some people like that, but most people don't, and it does cause some issues later with accessing lists and stuff like that. So in computer science, we usually like to count at 0. You know, I want to do something 5 times. Sure, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, but that's 5 times. So think about it as the loop counter is how many times it's been done. All right, so that's the while loop. All right, I want to go over just one more thing about the while loop is that we can do this a little bit differently here. We can change the way we write this. This is so common that I could say plus equals 1. That's a shortcut. Not equals plus, it has to be plus equals. All right, so that's while loops, and I think that's a good place to stop there. And then when we come back on our next lesson, we'll talk about for loops. So until I see you again, take care.